In Left 4 Dead 2, the tank is scary, but if we copy and pasted him into TF2, would he still be scary? After trying it, I think the answer is no, even at his peak. His strongest form is Expert mode, which gives him 8,000 health and each punch and rock does 100 damage, but none of that was scary. How? Starting with his rock, it takes him way too long to throw the damn thing. Almost everything in TF2 fires the instant you left click, but when you right click to throw rock, it takes 3 seconds for the rock to actually get thrown. There's so much time to see it coming that there's basically no chance of catching anyone with it. Here's a tank stopping the cap. He goes for a rock throw, but there's so much time for the blue players to see what's coming to back up. This tank is in the enemy intel room and decides to throw rock, but there is ample time for everyone to clear the area, so nothing happens. Across the 28 matches we played, nobody managed to intentionally kill with it. There were 6 successful rock kills out of the 473 total rocks thrown, but they were literally all dumb luck. On Badwater, a spy sneaks behind the tank but gets clipped by the rock's hitbox as it's being thrown and dies. On Steel, this spy hops on the tank's head and dies to the rock. On Viaduct, this spy just charges into it and dies. Then we have this tank on Badwater tossing a rock into the crowd and happened to catch a red soldier. This blue scout on point that didn't notice the massive dude throwing a rock. And last, the closest we have to a legitimate rock kill. This red scout watches the tank begin to pick up a rock and throw it at them, and decides to simply eat it and die. So rock throw, not very effective at hurting people, not scary. Next, his punch. It's actually decent at murder since it has extra range and hurts enough to matter. It can kill, but it never ends up becoming that threatening. First, to his credit, he can kill. The extra range makes his punches longer than any existing TF2 melee, which tripped people up. Players would die fighting the tank at what they incorrectly thought was a safe distance. Such as this blue engineer, who maintains a specific distance from the tank, but as it turns out, wasn't actually big enough. Or this blue scout, who faces off against Red's tank, but has too much faith in the gap between them. The extra knockback on the punches also helped secure kills. For example, the blue tank slaps this red soldier across the map, who craters to his death. Blue tank sneaks his fingers through the gates and flicks this red soldier. This red engineer gets flung across the entire base, ramps off the railing, and dies. And as you can imagine, the knockback is extra dangerous around environmental hazards. This red demo turns the corner into blue tank's loving fists. The red soldier follows the tank down and learns why it's not a good idea. But even without surprise fall damage or deceptively long hands, the tank collected a decent amount of kills from the usual reasons as well. Overconfident players who think they can take him for some reason, and players caught by surprise. You would think the massive earthquakes would be hard to overlook, but an entire team of blue players were sitting around waiting for the doors to point C to open, and gets surprised by a red tank coming up from behind. Here's a red team that believed in themselves a little too much, squaring up against the blue tank. So the punches weren't bad, but here's why they never became great. two major problems that add up to them being just eh. Problem 1. His punches are really slow, which makes him take forever to kill anything. There is a 1.5 second cooldown between swings, so because each hit is 100, literally anything besides a kunai spy will need at minimum 2 punches to kill, which takes this long to happen. That may not seem too bad, but we're in ideal conditions without the chaos of 20 other dudes, without punches whiffing, and most importantly, without medics. A heavy is 3 hits, but at a medic, 7 hits. That combines with his second major problem, running slower than even the heavy, to mean that in actual gameplay, it is not hard to avoid being killed by him. You can literally just walk away from him, and he can't catch you or swing fast enough to get you. He can find kills and he's not completely hopeless, but the tank dilemma is that he has to wait for openings, unable to create any himself. You need to make a mistake for him to do anything. If you don't get stuck on a prop or misjudge the safe distance from him, there is nothing he can do about you standing out of range. Here's a good example of that. The blue tank is chasing a demo down their vents, and a scout and spy end up getting involved, but none of them die because they were smart about how close you can get. Here's red team fighting a tank that gets 0 kills since nobody gave him an opening. You press S and he's screwed. That's why punches not scary. As for the last big thing about him, his 8,000 health. This did matter, since so much health takes a serious and sustained team effort to bring to 0. Here's the red team taking half a minute to grind a tank down. Of course, his hands and rocks are still bad at killing, and his feet are still very slow, so how did this health pool matter? It was actually relevant for him as an effective objective babysitter. Sitting on the objective where people have to come to you makes his move speed irrelevant, and the high knockback is very effective as "please go away." In the tests, each team had a tank, so you can't just brute force the objectives on your own, because the enemy tank will come over to stop you. But there's still many moments to, for example, toss players stopping the cart for a point cap. You can also keep players on a point, such as what this red tank did here. The blue team was running out of time to cap C, and flinging people off at the top of the stairs stopped their overtime attempt. CTF with his 8,000 health was especially silly when you can just walk in and walk out with the intel. So he's good at helping his team with the objectives, but again, there's limits to it. Almost every class has some way to mess with him. First, easily the most important class in the whole test, the spy. He can one-shot the tank at any circumstance, and it's not even hard since the tank is almost always preoccupied. The spy cucks the tank so thoroughly that 58 out of 66 tank deaths were backstabs. Spy even single-handedly invalidated a playstyle tanks experimented with. Besides playing the objective, tanks realized they could just walk into your backline and start causing chaos, even spawn camping. But this quickly fell out of favor because you don't last long, you will get backstabbed. Tanks gave up on it after some tries, and decided they were better off sticking to their team and the objective. As for the other classes, they had knockback. The Pyro's Air Blast was very good at bullying him. The Engineer's Sentry, besides the damage output being good, causes enough knockback to stop the tank at level 2. This was huge because in gameplay, this combined well with the Pyro who would air blast the tank into the air. Then the Sentry gun pins the tank into a corner, and from there, he shrimply dies. Many heavy players picked up the Natasha, which broadly made the tank's movements even more tedious and awkward. It helps create more space and leeway for your teammates to deal with him. There's also the Holiday Punch for stunning the tank. Scout had the Force of Nature, which was surprisingly effective. There was a blue tank that was trying to take the intel, but this red scout managed to hold him back until his team arrived to help. This blue heavy is pushing up Badwater first, alongside a Force of Nature scout. Apparently, the Force of Nature is so good that the red tank would rather just give up. Only when the scout runs off to do something else does the tank move in to attack the heavy. Snipers were surprisingly useful with the Huntsman taunt. This tank was pushing into point C, but gets caught by the taunt and shortly after, backstabbed. So his 8,000 health is good, but ultimately not scary because backstabs and knockback keep him in check. So on the whole, even at his peak expert mode power, he's not that crazy in TF2. His rock sucks, his punches are okay, his health keeps him from being irrelevant, and his impact on the game was basically making the objectives more complicated for everyone. After seeing the tank at 8,000 health, I also checked what health the tank would start to fail his simple job of bothering the objective, and I found that to be somewhere around 3,000 health. I lowered the tank's health by 1,000 each time, and 4,000 was when we started noticing the tank had to actually respect his enemies. Here's the blue tank running into point B. There's not even a sentry gun here, just a few dudes, yet the 4,000 health disappeared without too much trouble. 2,000 health and tanks are getting bullied by even level 1 sentry guns. This red tank runs into the alleyway, and it is absolutely no sweat for blue team to put them down. So with the right number, he could legitimately be a funny and fair comeback mechanic for the losing team in TF2. Tanks had niche tech where they could rocket jump with the rock. The rock's explosion on impact hurts them too, so you can throw it at your feet to launch yourself. It doesn't go very far though, so it had limited use.